Let me just explain to people why I was there, because I've gotten so many people who are like, "Why would you go to a war zone? And what were you at?"
Right.
All right, here's the deal. I am the least religious person on earth. Like, I'm Jewish, but trust
Right.
me, like, uh, life
Right.
set foot in a synagogue,
Right.
not for
You're
somebody's bar mitzvah.
Jewish.
I'm Jewish, right? Like,
Right.
not religious at all whatsoever. Um, but my son, I wanted to give him the option of, to choose his own path, and he was approaching 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, if you want a bar mitzvah, because all of his friends were having one, I will do it, but I'm not going to do it the way everybody in New York does it, which is that they spend literally hundreds of thousands of dollars,
$100,000.
basically throwing the equivalent of a wedding
Yeah.
for
I've
their
been to many of them.
for
They're
their 13-year-old
crazy.
kids, and sometimes
Right.
hire like Beyonce to play. I mean, it's insane, right? And even if I had that kind of money, which parentheses do not, I would never do it, because I think it's like, what, you're 13. What have you done in your life to actually
Right.
deserve, that kind of
Right.
event? Um, so I said to him, I said, look, if you're going to do this, like, it is really about becoming a Jewish man. Like, that's what a bar
Mm-hmm.
mitzvah is. And to me, like, if you want to know what it's like to be Jew these days, there are many ways to do it, but Israel is an option for you, and I'll tell you why. It is not because of the Gaza situation. I can get to that in a minute. I had tremendous amounts of conversations with Israelis about what's
Mm-hmm.
happening in Gaza. We can get to that in a moment. Um, it is not because of the politics there. Bibi Netanyahu is, to say that he's not my cup of tea does not begin to describe it.
Yeah.
It is for two reasons. One is my grandmother, his great grandmother, and my aunt, his great aunt, spent the last 30 years of their lives living in Israel. When we left the Soviet Union, we came here. They couldn't. They were not allowed to. And the reason they were not allowed to is because my great aunt was quite mentally ill, and the United
Mm-hmm.
States does not allow people with illnesses to immigrate here. So she, my grandmother, who was 79 at the time, went to Israel, where my grandmother's sister had been living since the 1920s. She and her brother, my grandmother's brother and sister, had walked from Palestine to what was then Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
from their shtetl in Russia in 1920
My
something, after the Russian
God.
Revolution. So they're one of the early, sort of settlers there.
Right.
So we have a lot of cousins there. My father's first cousin lives there, and all of her children, who I'm very close to as a kid. I used to go and stay with my grandmother. So I have a connection to Israel that is not political. It
Yeah.
is just that I have a lot of family there, and I used to spend my summers there.
Mm.
And it had been about 8 years since I'd been to my grandmother's grave, and my aunt had died in those intervening 8 years. I never visited her grave. So I said,
Mm.
okay, if you want to do this, I think Israel might be a good place to do it. Because the Western Wall, which is where we ended up doing it, is the site of the holiest place in our religion. It is the wall that was the outside of the city wall for where the old temple in Jerusalem stood,
Mhm.
until about 70 AD, when it was destroyed by the Romans. And two is, I really would love to go see my grandmother's grave, and my aunt's grave, just to do it.
Yeah.
And he was all into it. He was completely bought into it. The person who was not bought into it was my husband. He's like, "Are you kidding me? We're gonna die." And I was like, "Stop being such a wuss." I'm like, "What are you talking about? This Gaza thing's been going on forever. Like, we're gonna be fine.
I
People
mean, that
come and
is
go."
true. That is true.
Yeah. And so he was like, "I don't know. I think we're all gonna be in a lot of danger." And I was like, "What can possibly happen? Come
Yeah.
on."
Well, good
As you can imagine, I will never live this down.
Right.
To his credit, I said to him as the missiles were falling on us, "You can tell me I told you so when we're safely home." And he said, "I will never tell you I told you so." So to his credit, he's very good about it.
Yeah.
Um, and the first part of this, my cousin, sorry, whoops, Freudian slip. My husband is Catholic, and not just Catholic, but 12 years of Catholic school and
Yeah.
altar boy,
Like he goes to church still
like he
and
goes to
stuff.
church on
Yeah.
Sundays all the time. So I said to him, "Look, I go, you have obviously, the nuns taught you well, and we'll go do all the stuff. Like, we'll go do the Via Dolorosa, and we'll go do all of this incredible stuff,
Right.
and we'll go up to the Galilee, and we'll go to, the Mount of Beatitudes, and all the Jesus stuff, right? I really wanted to make this very special for
Jesus.
him too.
Right.
And by the way, we did, and it was beautiful, beautiful. Like, if people read my Substack, I did a little travelogue. Like, we went to um, 6 a.m. Mass
Mm.
at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jesus's tomb. Well, you know, the place that's supposed to be Jesus'
Right.
tomb. I'm not even Catholic. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
even Christian, and it was meaningful to me. Like, it was
Yeah.
just an incredible thing to do.
Yeah. If
Um,
anything, I always say, like, because you know how I feel about religion and all
yeah,
that stuff too, but there is there is value in knowing about those things because there
Sure.
is so much of our literature and our culture and
It makes our world go round.
geopolitics. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm with you. I'm about as religious as you are. But
You're
it was
right.
yeah, it was really we went up to Masada, which is, this fortress that the Jews repelled the Romans from for a few months before they all committed suicide, which is a whole different story. The Dead Sea, like all of these great things. And my parents were there, and thank God they flew out on Wednesday,
Mm,
because my 80-something-year-old father and his 80-something-year-old sister, and my mother is almost 80, they were all there, and thank God they got out when they did.
right.
So we went up, they left. We left Jerusalem. We went up to the north, by the Golan Heights, up to the Galilee, as I keep saying, did all the Jesus stuff. By the way, if anybody ever finds themselves near the Sea of Galilee, it is one of the most beautifully insane,
Mhm.
like just stunning places. Um, Went to a kibbutz where one of my cousins' husbands is from, and did the whole thing there. Which, by the way, somebody used to do a whole separate kibbutz
Mm,
Substack because it's just incredible what they do there. But
mm.
And then we're like, great, we're gonna go to Tel Aviv and relax with my cousins, most of whom live there, for a few days before flying home. So we get to Tel Aviv and we are sitting on the beach. And if anybody has not been to Tel Aviv, it is basically Miami. Like it's Miami Beach. The
Yeah.
vibe is the
It's
same.
a party, right? I
It's a
mean,
party, and the big gay pride parade was gonna be the next day. And I didn't realize that, but our hotel was literally at the start of the pride parade. So like um the streets are going to be shut down. I was like, oh god, that's all I need is like a crazy parade scene. But we're sitting on the beach drinking a martini, like I don't know, like having
yeah.
drinks.
And it's like
um
palm trees and
like palm
beaches
trees,
and
you're on the
like
Mediterranean,
gorgeous.
yeah.
Right.
And my cousin says to me, and he's a doctor, he says to me, I'm hearing chatter that we might have a war with Iran soon.
Oh God.
And I
Oh God.
said, what in the world are you talking about? He goes, yeah, there's rumor, blah blah blah, chatter. And I said, well, it's definitely not going to happen until, of course, we leave on Sunday, because Steve Wickoff is supposed to meet with the Iranians on Sunday. And I know that, Netanyahu would never do this to Trump. He wouldn't embarrass him right now, right? And he's like,
Well,
I don't know. And
yeah.
I was like, all right. Well, I'm sitting here having drinks. I'm like, this is all great. Having no care in the world. That night, we are asleep.
Mm,
And at about 1 or 2 in the morning, the
so
siren
scary.
goes off, and they're like, "Get to a shelter immediately."
Right.
And that's when every hotel has every house, everybody has a shelter, and that's when we found out that they had just attacked Iran. And I was like, "Oh my god, we are never getting out of here." I was like, "We are stuck."
It's
Immediately, the airport shut down. Jordan shuts down its airspace, and that was Thursday night to Friday morning. I emailed the American Embassy, Michelle, thinking,
mm,
of course, the American Embassy will have answers as to what to do in this kind of situation. And I think I on my Substack put out the email, but basically, the American Embassy said explicitly, we're doing nothing to help. The word was, we're doing
yeah.
nothing to assist American citizens. You make your own security plans.
Mhm.
You're on your own. And P.S. It's Friday and we're closed. I was like, why are you closed? Like, why are you
It
closed? Like it's Friday, so we're closed on Friday. Like, why? Why are we
right.
closed?
What is this, summer Fridays? Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you're an embassy and there is an emergency happening and
I'm actually
your
going to pull up
American
this.
citizens in
I actually
danger.
want to, yeah, I actually want to read this, Michelle, because it's insane. Like, I actually want to read this email that they sent back. So, this is the email I sent to them, right?
Mhm.
Hello, I'm an American citizen visiting Tel Aviv with my husband and son. We are looking for assistance to get out of the country and back to the United States. Is there a process where the embassy can help, right? Dear Julia, my real name is Julia.
Yeah.
Thank you for your email. There are no, so I wrote this at, I guess it's American time, but something like in the morning, a couple of hours later, they respond, Dear Julia, thank you for your email. There are no plans to evacuate or assist Americans in departing Israel at this time. Ben Gurion Airport is currently closed. Land crossings to Jordan are currently open, but check their status before traveling to them. Link, check the status of Ben Gurion Airport and land crossings here. Like, I know how to use the internet, my friends. As a
Right.
result of the current security situation, the U.S. Embassy has directed all U.S. government employees and their family members to shelter in place until further notice. What?
Mm,
What are you talking about? This is provided for your information as you make your own security plans. Please follow all Government of Israel Home Front Command instructions at link. And then here's the best part. U.S. Embassy Jerusalem is closed today, Friday, June 13th. Sign up to receive up-to-date travel advisory information from the U.S. Embassy/State Department at travel@statedepartment.gov.
Uh,
Okay, I just want to be clear. In the past, in 2006, during the Bush administration,
right.
there was a war with Lebanon.
Yeah.
The Bush administration sent people to Lebanon to evacuate American citizens, not Israel, an ally, Lebanon, which is a failed, collapsed state that at the time was basically being run by Hezbollah.
Mhm.
They evacuated Americans. After October 7th, they sent people,
I
they
remember
being
this.
Biden, to
Yeah.
both the Gaza Strip,
Yeah.
and to Israel to evacuate any Americans who wanted to come home.
Right. America first, right? I mean, that's the thing that's just like is
What is
so
America
ass
first?
backwards. I, I don't even know. I don't know. Because here's the thing too, and I mean, I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but there was a lot of Americans that were stuck over there, some of which were prominent right-wing Republican people who were
Sure,
stuck over there.
Scott Jennings is stuck there. I know Caitlyn Jenner is stuck there. Sure.
Right, right. There were a lot of people. And, you know, what does it say that when you travel outside the United States, whether it be Israel or elsewhere, that you cannot count on the embassy, you're the American embassy in that country to take care of you if something happens?
You are on. I just want people to understand this. I want people to understand how on your own you are. This is what we had to
Mhm,
do. Okay.
mhm.
And I am deeply connected in Israel because I'm
Thank
related to people in
God.
that country. Yeah, thank God. I'm related to people in that country. I had my best friend's husband was there. He's Israeli, happened to be visiting. He happens to be Israeli. He had a car. He drove us for free
Mm,
for 4 hours to a lot, which is at the very tippy top bottom of Israel on the Egyptian border, because
mm,
he rightly said, do not go to Jordan because Jordan, you're going right through the West Bank. But
yeah,
once you get to Jordan, they're going to shut down the airspace again because geographically, Jordan is on the
right.
east, right? So it's on the way for the missiles. So a lot of the missiles, the debris might have been falling. So they said, he said, don't go to
Go
Jordan.
the other way.
It's a
Yeah,
much bigger pain in the ass to get down to Egypt because it's much further. But at least you know Egypt's going to have flights that are going to go because it's
right,
not in the
right,
conflict zone.
right.
Um, Drives us to Jordan. We walk across, like literally, this is like Casablanca. We're like with our
Mm.
suitcases walking. We walk across the border. We literally have to like tip the immigration guy in Egypt. Translation, give him a little backsheesh, a little
Yeah,
bribe.
I mean, of
Yeah, I
course.
mean, the guy literally is like, "Here's your stamp. Can I have a tip?" I'm like, "A tip, okay."
Right.
Um,
It's
and
very New York,
yeah,
honestly.
very New York. We then have a Bedouin pick us up and drive us. A Bedouin that my Israeli friend had set up. So again, like, what would we have known? We wouldn't have known once we got to Egypt what to do.
Right.
This Bedouin picks us up in his car, drives us another 3 hours to Sharm el Sheikh, which is all the way down the Sinai Peninsula. I want to say again,
Right.
if anybody wants to vacation in that part of the world, you will never find a more beautiful place
Mm,
than the Sinai. Like, it is stunning. But
yeah.
as we're going down, we're in Egypt, and to our, we're going down the road. To our left is the Red Sea, and across the Red Sea is Saudi Arabia. And
Mm,
I look at my husband, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on? How am I looking at Saudi Arabia right now? Like, what is like?" It was
right,
just a real moment. Like, there's Jordan, oh, there's Saudi Arabia, and I was
right.
like,
You're
okay."
in like a that is a part of the world, you know what I mean? Like,
I'm
that
like,
is
"What? Like, what the hell is happening right now?"
right.
We get to Sharm el Sheikh. We're like, "My man, we have 7 hours to kill. Take us to the Four Seasons right now for a drink."
Oh, hell yeah.
By the way, the White Lotus should do an episode of that Four Seasons because it is so stunning.
I
Um,
mean, you never know someday.
yeah. Um, and we get on a plane to Stansted Airport in London.
Mm,
And then we get from we have to, it's 2 o'clock in the morning by the time we get off the plane. We have to
oh god.
get a bus from Stansted to Heathrow, which is like an hour and a
Ugh.
half, which is the international airport in London. We get there and we realize that Delta, who I called and said, please book us on a flight
Oh,
out of
no.
London, had booked us on a flight the day before. So we'd missed that flight.
Oh my god.
So now I've literally, and I get there and when this woman told me Delta,
I would have started crying immediately.
I was totally fine until then. I got tears in my eyes, and I said to
Yeah.
her, "Let me just
It's like
explain to you."
exhaustion,
I
frustration,
was
it's
just
I mean,
It
all
was
of that.
exhaustion, it was frustration, it was also just fear for my son because
Yeah, I
he was
know.
so anxious about these
Poor
like, he was so we had to keep running to the shelter every couple of hours, so he was
it's
so
traumatizing. I mean,
totally
it really
traumatizing.
yeah,
It was so traumatizing, and not for me, but for him, like,
yeah. I mean, he's just a kiddo,
he's a
you
kid,
know?
right? Like, he doesn't know, and he was hearing all these booms and all this stuff.
I
It's
that's
not,
terrifying. I
yeah,
mean
it's interesting. My husband actually did not wanna leave Tel Aviv. He's like, "We should just stay here. I feel safe here." And I was like, "I need to get this kid out of the situation. I cannot
yeah.
have him running to the shelter every couple of hours." It's a good thing we did because the next night, apparently our hotel happened to be right next door to the American consulate in Tel Aviv,
Mm.
and there's a bomb that dropped, and I think it might have, I don't know if a missile that either it didn't hit, but somehow shrapnel or something might have hurt the
Oh my
hotel.
gosh. Oh my
Um,
gosh.
So, but I mean, like, you're driving through Israel, looking at your phone, hoping that because you have reports of where the missiles are falling. You're like,
Right.
okay, they're falling in the north. We're going south. But like, luck of the draw, they're falling in the north. They could have been falling in the
Right,
south.
because they were dropping them everywhere. It
They
wasn't
were
just
dropping
Tel
them
Aviv,
everywhere.
right?
It just
Right.
so happened they didn't. And we're on like idiots on the open road
Right.
for hours.
Well,
Look,
Joe, my husband, for anyone who doesn't know, we were looking at the map actually, trying to figure
yeah,
out like how you were getting out because we are like, well, but she's not going this way. She's not going that way. She must be going this way. And like trying to figure it out because it just seemed like, I'm like, what's even there? You know?
uh, a beautiful drive. I mean,
Yeah, I'm
honestly, a
sure.
beautiful drive. But maybe not under those circumstances.
Yeah.
Um, so, and then I think the part, Michelle, that really so anyway, so Delta was very nice. They booked us. But I wanna just be clear.
Mm.
I cannot tell you how expensive these tickets were from London.
Oh my God.
Like,
I can't.
astronomical, astronomical. And I cannot believe that the United States government did nothing to help people get out. Like,
Well,
if you don't
yeah.
if you don't have money to get out, what are you gonna do?
Right. 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 And that's so Tara and I Tara Stepmare and I were trying to figure out and talk to people,
Yeah.
on our side and like just see if like what do you know, whatever. And Malcolm Nance, who we were with
Mhm.
over the weekend, at the march, had some thoughts and, things about, there could be the only thing the Americans could do if they close down the airspace is if there's boats or something like out to take you to Cyprus or whatever. But like the United States wasn't doing anything. Nothing.
Nothing.
And so it's funny, it's not funny, but a couple days before all the missiles and stuff started and I knew you were there, these 2 little girls, I mean, they're not little anymore, they're in their 20s. They were, I used to babysit them, and they were in Israel. I think they were in Tel Aviv with their mom. They were there for a wedding, and, I was texting with her, and I was like, "Evan, oh my god, are you in Israel?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "It looks so beautiful. Oh my gosh." And then all of this started, and then I found out that you were stuck there. And so I texted her and I said, "Please tell me you guys are back." And she said, "I literally just walked into my front door." She goes, "But our cousins are still there and my aunt is still there
Mhm.
and they can't get out." And I was like, "Well, Julie is there." Blah, blah, blah. She was like, "Oy vey, like this is just
Yeah.
terrible." But it's like, I think that's the thing that people don't necessarily understand if you live in a part of the country maybe where you don't know a lot of Jewish people or aren't connected to this. Like, you know, a lot of people go to Israel. Like, it's people are there all the time
The same way
because
people who
of
are of Irish descent go to Ireland, like, you do it.
correct, correct, correct. And it's, there's family, there's heritage, it's just a beautiful place to go. I mean, a lot of people go and I think that maybe the average person doesn't necessarily know that. And especially now, with the United States and our position and what's happening there otherwise, it is even more surprising that they're not doing anything to help Americans there. It's actually kind of shocking,
You
even for
know,
these people.
I have to say that I'm gonna say 2 things about that. One is, I don't know what your consular responsibilities are, but I know they should be,
Right.
and that is to protect your citizens abroad. Like, you are
Mhm.
truly representing that's why you have a diplomatic passport.
Right.
That's why the property of the consulate belongs to the United States, even though it's on foreign land,
Right.
because you are basically the United States in a foreign country.
Right, right. You're
In the
protected.
same way that, I don't know, the British mission here in New York to the UN, it belongs to Britain, not to New York.
Right, right.
Um, so just the very fact that they're like, you're on your own, but we've told people to, we've told our government officials that they should shelter in place so you can make your own decisions. Like, I don't care about your government. I don't,
Right,
I don't, I
right.
don't care what your people are doing. Like, I'm asking you for help.
Mhm.
And again, I keep saying this, like, I had all of the help in the world.
Right.
But let's say that I were in Tehran right now. Let's say that I
Mm,
were Iranian and I was visiting my family in Tehran.
mm.
Not Iranian American. There are
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thousands upon thousands of Iranian Americans
Oh,
who
yeah.
live here. And they occasionally go back to Tehran to visit their family.
Mhm.
What are those like those poor people?
Mm,
Like
mm.
think about it. As missiles are blowing up Tehran right now, what is the United States doing to get their people out of Tehran?
Well, yeah, I mean, what did Trump, write on Truth Social? Like, all caps, "Everyone evacuate," with, like, 15 exclamation
To
points. I'm
where?
like, "What is this? What
To
does that even
where?
mean?"
Where are they supposed to evacuate? But I mean,
Right.
seriously, look at the map. Like, where are they
Mhm.
supposed to go? How are they
And
supposed to get
Iran
there?
yeah, and Iran is not exactly this free society where people can
No,
just move about,
but
freely
but not even that. I mean, if you look at roads, like
Right,
people, there's no gas. All of a sudden, you can't get gas.
right.
There are y- traffic apparently stuck for hours just getting out of Tehran. Like,
Mhm.
where is the American embassy to say, you know what? There's no American embassy in Tehran, so I take that back.
Right,
But where's the
right.
American government to say to whoever the go between is, to the Brits or whoever has an embassy there, hey, we need to have our American citizens go to your embassy
Yeah,
and be there until we're able to extract them.
yeah.
Or you, Britain, or you, France, or whoever,
Somebody, an
you put
ally.
them on your planes and you get them out of here. Or some sort of land passage or something, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it's just amazing to me. Again, I am the most fortunate, connected person in the world, and I had the money to get us out of there.
Yeah,
That is not the case for most people who are there.
yeah.
You know, the only people who are crossing that border with us, just to tell you how nobody, maybe now after I've been talking about this, I think I've been getting call after call after call from people saying, what did you do? And maybe we could do this too. But when we crossed, which was about 10 a.m.
Mhm,
on Sunday morning,
mhm,
there were a Romanian Orthodox priest and a few nuns crossing,
mhm.
and I saw a few people with Ukrainian passports.
Wow,
That's it.
wow.
Altogether,
So when you drove through to cross over, there was like, what was that like? Like, was there a thing? You had to drive through it and checkpoint? Like,
no,
what was
nope.
that like?
But no, actually, my our Israeli friend drove us. We had no dollars, by the way. We had no cash on us
Okay.
because we like gave it all away while we didn't think we needed, right? Um, literally drove to Eilat, which is a resort on the Red Sea in the south
Okay.
of Israel. Again, if anybody ever wants to vacation somewhere when it's a little calmer, beautiful, stunning place.
Yeah.
Got cash out of the ATM for us, um, and dropped us off at the border. There is a
Mm,
little, it's almost like a tent, like a, it's a house, but almost looks like a tent kind of set up.
okay.
You go in the Israeli side, you pay a couple bucks as an exit, whatever, tax,
And then,
whatever it's called.
yeah.
You they don't stamp passports in Israel, but you kind of get your passport looked at. Then you
Right.
walk to the next room. That's Egypt. You pay a few bucks to get in. Um, you walk through again. There's a place to change money into Egyptian pounds and get some money changed. So you could pay a little bit of a tax
Yeah.
to get it to Egypt. You walk out, and
Then you're there.
our Bedouin was waiting for us with a Julie Roginsky plaque, which I was so relieved to see. Dressed literally the whole headdress, the whole white
Yeah.
robe. Like my son was like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay, you have to stop watching. Like you have to stop watching movies." He was like, "We're all going." I
Right.
was
I
like, "All right,
know.
that's yeah."
Yeah.
The nicest guy.
Yeah.
Um, the nicest guy. Um, Drove us, was like, "Do you wanna stop and look at some lagoons?" We're like, "No."
Nope,
I was like,
nope, just bring me to the bar. Thank
yeah, but was,
you.
like, very ready to show us all around the Sinai, and, uh didn't speak his English wasn't great, but
Mhm.
nicest guy,
Yeah.
and, just drove us for hours and hours until we got to Sharm el-Sheikh,
And
which,
how long was that drive once you got to the
about 3
border?
hours.
Okay.
Interestingly, plane after plane landing from Russia, tons of Russians, vacation, I guess, at Sharm el-Sheikh. I don't know where else they think
Wild.
they can, yeah, but that was kinda weird.
Well,
Um,
and it's funny too, again, not funny, haha,
yeah.
but, while this was all happening with you, the White House released another list of 36 countries that they wanna add to the banned list, and Egypt is on it, which is insane. Like, what?
Insane,
Like, St. Lucia's
insane,
on it. I was like, "What?" It's
insane. The
crazy.
amount of intelligence and help that the Egyptians give to
Yeah,
this country and to Israel, like, are you
yeah,
crazy?
yeah. It's
Like,
nuts.
what, like, let me just put this in perspective. What would happen if Egypt said, "Okay, if you're gonna ban us, we're gonna ban you"?
As
Where
they
would I have gone?
as they should.
As they should. Where in the world would American citizens have gone? Because I'm telling you right now, Caitlyn Jenner, last I checked, was cooling her heels in Jordan. I don't know if some private plane is getting her out of there, but,
I don't even know where to
like,
begin with that
what
one.
are you
I
thinking? What are you thinking? I have been to Egypt now 3 times, including this past weekend,
mm,
unexpectedly. Every time I've been to Egypt, they are the nicest, most
yeah,
welcoming people to Americans. They
yeah.
love Americans. They
And
don't particularly
beautiful
trust Americans.
culture, like, there's so much history. One of my best friends went a couple years ago, and she was sending me all these pictures from Cairo and, like, right outside Cairo. I mean, like,
Look,
it's just
these
beautiful place.
these are the countries that we need to be allied with because they're in a
Yeah,
really, really awful part of the world, and we need
right.
them on our side.
Yeah,
Like, are you crazy?
yeah,
Are you
yeah,
crazy? And I just wanna add one more thing, Michelle, before we get to the politics of what's happening right now because it's
yeah.
crazy. Um, I have to tell you, I am so fucking disgusted with some of the messages I got from so-called progressives on social media who are like, "You deserve this, you
What?
Zionist." Oh,
I can't. Girl,
like 90%.
mm.
"You went to this country, you deserve it. I hope you die after what you people have done to Gaza." I was like, "All right, first of all, I don't know who you people are. I'm an American citizen, so I didn't do anything to Gaza." But let me just also say this, like, you live in the United States that voted for
Mhm,
Donald Trump. Do you
mhm,
deserve to have a missile sent to your house to scare
mhm.
your children because you happen to live in a country that elected Donald Trump?
Yep,
Because that's how Israelis feel. Because of all the
yep,
Israelis I spoke to, and I spoke to a wide swath of Israelis while I was there. And the nice thing about them is they don't really stand in ceremony. You can ask them anything. There's no
right.
such thing as politeness there. And
Mhm.
I asked them all about Gaza. I was like, how do you feel? Like, what do you think? I have yet to speak to one who is happy about what their government is doing. One person said to me, who's a Netanyahu supporter or was, not even anymore, we have to finish the job there. And I said, what does that look like to you?
Right.
And he said, don't know. So
Mhm.
even that person is not like, I want to kill every last one of them and we have to resettle. Every single
Right.
one of them thinks Trump, every single one, even the ones who support what's happening in Gaza, do not agree with how far it's gone. They think it's gone way too
Well,
far.
it's crazy. And then when you have the president of the United States saying and posting AI videos about turning Gaza and, the
I mean,
West Bank,
they don't
I
even
mean,
think.
that stuff is just crazy. And it is so I was thinking about this, in the weeks leading up to October 7th, the Israelis were in the streets protesting Bibi Netanyahu.
Mhm.
And he was at the peak, during that time of no popularity because of the fascist kind of things that he was doing with judiciary and all these other things. And, I think that it's really naive for people, especially in the United States, to think, especially with what we're going through right now, to think, to your point, that Israelis are on board with everything that's going on because it's
They're
just not
not.
true. It's just
They're
not
not.
true.
They're not. No more than Americans are on board with Iraq towards the
Right.
end. No more than most Americans are on board with what Trump is doing domestically
Yeah.
here. Like, you can't say that they deserve this. No more
Right.
than I think people in Tehran deserve what's happening to them right now because their whacked out regime is
Yeah.
awful,
Yeah.
right? Like, regular people don't deserve this.
No,
And if you think you're some kind of like wackadoodle,
I
I
can't.
just I don't
I
know.
can't. I can't. It's I don't know if you know Sammy Sage. She is one of the co-founders of Betches News, and
Mhm.
I enjoy her immensely. And she's Jewish, and she speaks to this a lot. And she posted a video. She's like, I can't believe I'm about to wade into this cesspool of a topic, but
Yeah,
and she talked about Zionism and how the word Zionism became this slur and for Jewish people and how like everyone that's using it who by the way is new to the word and never understood what the word
yeah,
meant and when it started to become used more it really was being brought to the forefront by their enemies by Hamas and whatnot and it's people who don't understand the true meaning of the word
yeah.
which is true. And I say this as a non-Jew who, I'm no conservative by any means, but
Yeah.
it's just I think it's a really nuanced topic and it's complicated, but this part really I don't think should be. And I think for this super ultra left wing of the party of American politics has become so completely unhinged, this level of purity that is
Yeah.
happening. It's and it's really disgusting and kind of scary, honestly. I think it is. And
Well,
there's nothing wrong with being against what's happening in Gaza. Like, speak out, like what's happening there is an atrocity. It's horrible, but like we're putting people in camps where they don't, it's
I'm
upsetting and it
I'm just
shouldn't
gonna
be
read I'm
happening.
gonna read 2 tweets not tweets, this is actually on Blue Sky, so you
Yeah.
better, because these aren't even Elon Musk people. Literally, I tweeted out, "Missile fire over Tel Aviv where we're currently in a shelter."
Mm,
I'm not asking for your comment, I'm just telling you where I am.
yeah.
The answer from somebody, Skial Fada at Blue Sky Social, "Enjoy the karma."
Okay. Yeah. That's
Okay, 1. 2, missile fire over Tel Aviv where we're currently in a shelter. Exclusivity, Blue Sky Social, "Your people both caused and deserve this." My people? I'm from New Jersey.
yeah. What does
What?
that even mean?
It's the Jews, right? So,
Right,
like,
I mean, that's the thing.
anytime anybody says that, criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitic, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, like, yeah, criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitic, but when you say "you people," "your people both
Right,
cause and
and
deserve this,"
there's where
like,
the line is,
my
and
people my
yeah.
people are who? Because I am Jewish, but I'm
Mhm,
not Israeli, so if you think it's my people, obviously you're talking about the Jews,
mhm, mhm,
and,
mhm.
uh, you know, the whole thing is just it's gross and it's uncalled for, and you could be critical of Israel and you could be critical of Netanyahu and you could be critical of
Sure,
Zionism if you want to be. To me, Zionism is that Jews have the right to live
right,
in Israel, and that's all Zionism is.
yeah,
But you want to be critical of that, that's fine. But you start crossing the line when you say that American Jews deserve this because
right,
you don't know where they're coming from politically. You just think that
right,
because they're Jewish.
and that's where people start to lose their humanity in
Yeah.
their activism, and I think that once you lose your humanity in your activism, you become no better, than the people that you're standing up against,
Well, you're
and
racist.
yeah, right.
You're racist. That's all you are.
Mm,
Um, I know we don't have a lot of time, but I do want to talk about one thing, and that is, Michelle, what you and I decided to actually do this whole thing about, which is the fact that Donald Trump is being completely manipulated by the Israelis and by Mike Huckabee at the moment, and it's hilarious to see. Um, it's pretty priceless.
uh-huh.
Mike Huckabee is sending apocalyptic evangelical, like,
Crazy town,
crazy
crazy town.
town.
Should I read what
Yes.
okay, so Donald Trump posted this on Truth Social earlier today, and he writes, "From Mike Huckabee, a pastor, politician, ambassador, and a great person." And it's a screenshot of a text, and it says Mike Huckabee, right? Okay. "Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir. But there is only one voice that matters, his voice, all caps. I am your appointed servant in this." I can't even say this with purpose. I'm your appointed servant in this land, and am available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours, not since Truman in 1945. I don't reach out to you to persuade you, only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's, all caps. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes and ears, and sent me to, okay, eyes and ears and voice, and to make sure our flag flies above our embassy. My job is to be the last one to leave. I will not abandon this post. Our flag will not come down. You you did not seek this moment. This moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you, Mike Huckabee. This is
Serve you?
bananas.
First of all, let's start with the words I'm your servant, serve you.
Yeah,
Like
like,
we don't have monarchs here. He's not orange
well,
Jesus.
yeah.
But it is so obvious to me that this was written by the Israelis to get
Oh
Trump
yeah.
into the war, and
Oh
that
yeah.
Huckabee wittingly is being used to do this. Like he knows what he's doing. I know Mike Huckabee, Michelle. I don't know if you know this. Like I worked
I
with him
did
at
not know
Fox.
that. He is cuckoo pants.
No, he's actually not cuckoo pants. That's the
He's
thing. That's
not.
why. No, that's why I want to be clear that this is Mike Huckabee manipulating Donald
He
Trump.
seems crazy to me.
He's not crazy. He's actually the best politician, one of the best politicians I've ever met in my life. He is a very smart
Even though
man.
he raises terrible children.
She's not stupid either.
Oh, I don't think she's stupid. I think
Yeah,
she's a horrible person.
she is. But she's not but he's much more charismatic than she. I don't know her well, but I did know him pretty well. He's Republican Clinton. I don't know what they do in Arkansas down there, but
I don't know.
they
I
raised
don't know,
they raised I'm
Julie.
telling you
I don't
guys,
know.
I'm telling you, you don't have to like the guy for me to believe me when I tell
No,
you. If Mike
I
He is an
got it.
amazing retail politician. If Mike Huckabee met you once, he'd remember everything about you,
Mm,
your name, your parents' names, your husband's names, your
yeah,
dog's name 10 years later. Not a dumb man, which is why I want people to understand what's happening. This is not Mike Huckabee being like preacher
right.
Huckabee
He
and
wrote a
Jesus.
children's book about Donald Trump to give to children and indoctrinate them also, and then he
Well,
sells
Cash
it
Patel
on
did that
TV.
too.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Which is, but it's more like sycophancy and you know, knowing their audience. And that's the other part of this that's scary is like knowing how malleable and impressionable Donald Trump is, because if you flatter him and you stroke his whatevers, that he's
Mm.
going to get he's going to give you, or he's going to do what you want him to, as long as you're the last person in the room to talk to him.
But that's what this is, right? Like
Right.
he's writing an email that he knows will appeal to Trump because it's basically putting him on par with God, right? God speaks to prophets directly. I'm serving you. I am
Right.
your
He's like,
servant.
you're hearing more than one voice. And I'm always, I mean, me, I'm like, I hope not. I hope you're hearing no voices. That is not good. I don't want you hearing voices.
Yeah. If you're hearing voices,
Like,
he
we
might
have
have to,
bigger problems. Like,
yeah,
anyways.
Mike Huckabee may be spending too much time in Jerusalem these days. But but and the whole like I'm gonna be the last to like I'll never abandon this post. Abandon this post. Who's abandoning anything? Nobody can get out of there.
Right. Right. It's like Stockholm syndrome. Like, what
Yeah.
are you doing?
Um, so it's just it's very and then the fact that he with Tulsi Gabbard, I don't know if you saw this thing today
Oh, I did. Oh, I
where they
did.
said Tulsi Gabbard, the head, by the way, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, who was appointed by, let me check notes. Oh, that's right, Donald Trump, to that post 5 months ago,
Mm.
has said that Iran was not on the cusp of building a nuclear weapon. Now, I make no judgment about that whatsoever.
Yeah, but
All I'm saying is that is what was said to Trump, and Trump said, "I don't care."
I don't care. I don't care what she says. Now, here's another thing about Tulsi Gabbard. And I've talked to some people who've been doing some stuff in national security, and I was like, "Do you think she is in on it, or do you think she's a useful idiot?" And I've been told she's a useful idiot, because, she was raised in a cult in Hawaii.
Yeah.
She's very, impressionable also, and is very, and for whatever reason, is parroting Russian talking points pretty consistently, and put out a video a couple weeks ago, which was completely cuckoo pants and like very dramatic, straight to camera. But again, I don't trust her at all to say if she says Iran is not making a nuclear weapon. I don't trust her because of her Assad stuff. I mean, all this, all of her
For Russia stuff, which of course,
her
don't forget the
Russia
Russian,
stuff, like all of
yeah.
it. And here's another thing that gets me, and not to go on a tangent here, but like Mehdi Hassan, okay, who I otherwise like. I mean, he's a really smart guy and
Hmm.
he's an incredible journalist, right? But this is where some of his stuff I get a little upset because he was like citing that as like a reputable like source or like something we should all be paying attention to. And I was like, okay, I don't really have an opinion about this because I just don't know enough and I don't pretend to know enough. But like, are we really going to say that Tulsi Gabbard's out here telling the truth? Because I don't believe that 1 second. But I also don't believe Donald Trump either. So like, I don't. And that's the scary thing about this moment too is I don't know who to trust and I don't know who to listen to and I don't know that there is anyone to trust.
Well, what's obvious to me is that he's going negative on Tulsi. He's going
Mhm.
negative on Tucker. He's about to go
Yeah.
negative on Bannon.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm kind of here for it, right? That
Yeah, right.
this whole kind of MAGA coalition is
Right.
now fighting with each other. Like, guess what, my MAGA friends? Guess who the deep state is? It's Donald Trump.
Right. Right.
And uh,
Mr. I'm going to end all the wars is done the opposite.
yeah, no wars on my no wars started on my watch. Oh,
Mhm.
okay,
Got it.
5 months,
Yeah.
5 months. And what's fascinating to me is he can't help himself. Like at first, the whole message was the Israelis did this on their own. We weren't in on it. Marco Rubio tweets out, "We had nothing to do with this. This fight's not our fight." And 5 minutes later, Trump's like, "Oh, I knew all about it. I know I'm Donald Trump. I knew all about this."
Because he can't, like,
He can't help
he
himself.
can't help it. He can't, I mean, if he knows, he can't stand people not knowing that he knows and like getting credit for things, or even if he doesn't know, then he would take credit for things anyways. Like, he cannot help himself but put himself in the middle of all the things. And I mean, look no further, just like that stupid birthday parade he put on over the weekend, which I know you were in transit and having missiles flying over your head, but you know, here's another thing where this sad, old, demented man is sitting in the bleachers, hoping that the whole world is looking at him, but they're not. And because the whole world was looking at millions of protesters in the streets of American cities and towns, and he was falling asleep. All the people around him, Pete Hegseth looked like he was going to nod off. Marco Rubio was yawning. Steve Witkoff was on his phone. I mean, it's just this is I mean, I just as much as I'm never surprised, I'm always shocked just in the moment of like, I cannot believe this is our country. I cannot believe these are the people who are leading us in this most perilous moment when the whole world's in danger right now with what's going on. And it's like, the idea of safety, and I'm sure you know this more than anybody, not just because of what happened to you just now, but your whole
Yeah.
life. There is no such thing as safety. It's all this perceived, idea that we have to do to survive. There is no such thing. And I think COVID taught us that too. But like in this moment, it's like, what is safety anymore? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. All I know is that the military could have been deployed
Hmm.
in a better way this weekend, and I'm living proof
Hmm.
of that than marching down Pennsylvania Avenue or wherever this,
Yeah.
Constitution Avenue, whatever avenue this was going down.
Yeah. But there's
And
squeaky ass tanks. I mean, I
well,
can't.
I mean, listen, I don't want to go down memory lane, but I remember
I
when I was
know.
very little seeing those May Day parades in Red Square, and I think he thought he was getting that. And the reality is,
Hmm.
it's my understanding. I
Well,
wasn't there
right.
for it. I didn't see the footage, but my
Well, because he
understanding is,
doesn't have the obedient public that these other authoritarian countries have. Like, he wasn't going to get that. I think he thought he was going to get that, and even the Russians on Russian state media were
making
making
fun of him.
fun of him. Like, he thought he was going to get this with all the North Koreans doing their little choreography or whatever, and then you had the army marching. Now there's argument, and there's been argument made online that, the army, when they're trained to march in lockstep, like, they know how to march, but they weren't marching in lockstep on this thing. And whether or not that was a quiet act of protest, I don't know that we'll ever know. But they certainly weren't, you know, they weren't sending their best or they weren't giving their best rather.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
because listen, he's the commander in chief. They have to
Mhm.
listen to him.
Sure.
But they know what they signed up for,
Mhm.
which is to, obey the Constitution. We
Right.
don't in this country. The whole point of this country is that we don't obey kings,
Yeah.
that we serve the Constitution and not individual men or women.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
God bless the United Kingdom. I love the Brits, but they are subjects. We are citizens. There's a difference.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
That's the fundamental difference.
Mhm.
If you live in Britain, you are a subject of His Majesty the King. If you live in the United States, you are a
Which is
citizen of the
crazy. And
yeah,
they
which
have,
is
like, a church, like, it's just, like, the whole
no,
thing
but I
is
mean,
weird to me.
whatever. Like that's their
Yeah.
thing, and that's great. But I mean,
Right.
that's how they choose to govern themselves, and that's
Right.
okay.
Right. And it's like
Um,
that, and correct me if I'm wrong. The monarchy in the UK is like a head of state, right? So it's like they
yeah, I mean,
just
he's
kind of,
got no
yeah.
constitutional power, but I mean,
Right.
the point
Right.
is that, but still, you are I worked in England for a while, so I can say this. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
Labour Party. Like you are a subject. Like you are a subject of His Majesty the King. That
Right.
is what you are. You're not a citizen.
Right.
You are a citizen of the French Republic. You are a citizen of the United States. You are a subject of the United Kingdom, and so, or not the United Kingdom. Excuse me, of the King.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the difference. The
Mm.
difference is that even though they're figureheads and even though they've got really no Britain doesn't really have a constitution, but even though they don't have um, they have a prime minister who's in the cabinet and so on and so forth and a parliament, still on paper you are a subject of the king.
Yeah.
Um, we're not a subject of the president,
No.
we're irrespective of who that president is. And that's why we had a revolution.
Mm.
That's why we became our own independent country because we did not want to continue to be subjects to the king.
Right. Right. And same with France. I mean, that's
And
right
same with
after we
France.
did.
Yeah, and same with France, which is when they started calling each other citizen as opposed to,
Hmm.
anything else.
Right.
And we don't have an aristocracy except the Kardashians. And we don't and we don't have that kind of thing. And he's obsessed with the British royal family
I know.
because he sees himself
Right.
in that.
He sees it as like glam and like part of lineage, and he looks at his father and his children, and it's this whole legacy obsession. And I think he sees himself. I mean, listen, there's a reason why Donald Trump, or at least the people around him, put out that fake Time magazine cover, fake, of himself with the stupid crown on his head. And, that's one of the images we used at Seneca Project. We made a 30-second promo for the No Kings protest,
Yeah.
using that because that's how he sees himself. It's like, those like calendars that you see in like the
Yeah.
Spencer's Gifts with the little cat, and he
Yeah.
sees himself as the big lion. Like that's Donald Trump. When he looks in the mirror, he sees a big, strong, handsome looking king, and he's definitely not.
Well, that's why you had his kids run to remember when the Queen invited them all to London in the first term
Yeah.
and all the kids and Kimberly Guilfoyle was all upset because she wasn't invited, but, like, all the kids and their spouses ran to Buckingham Palace, and, like, what the hell are you why?
I know, I know.
Why?
Yeah, and like, I mean, that's the thing with his kids too. I think they see themselves that way too.
Of course, Ivanka remember during the convention when Ivanka had the wind blower thing with the
Oh
hair
my
that
god,
was, like,
I
blowing in the wind?
cannot. She is a ridiculous
She's a ridiculous human
person.
being. She is, that's the
She is
best
a
way to describe her.
ridiculous person
Yep.
who's very well spoken and put together, but she is a ridiculous person.
Yeah.
And the family is ridiculous. I mean, again, like Don Jr. was on TV, some right wing thing the other day talking about the victims from the Minnesota government who were shot, assassinated, going off on a tangent about how they were Democrats, or I mean, just insanity. And then the other son was on TV talking about Trump phone. They're going to start a new Trump phone company. I don't know if you saw this in your
Yeah, oh,
travels.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And it's just I'm like, here's a guy who stole money from children's cancer charities, The other one is very clearly has some sort of substance abuse issue. Both starved for attention and the love for their father. And then there's Ivanka, who I think is both a victim of her father and also a perpetrator. And the whole family's just a
Yeah.
mess.
I mean, we
You
could
know.
talk more about the Trump phones tomorrow because I have some thoughts on that, but, the kids are a mess. The younger kid looks like a total sociopath.
Oh my God, he terrifies me.
Yeah, terrifies
Terrifies
me
me.
too. That's the kind of kid that, whatever. And he's not a kid
100%.
anymore, so we could say that about him.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like,
did
he's
I
not a
never s
child.
he's not a child. He's showed up to political stuff, so sorry.
Exactly. And
Um,
even oh my gosh, just really quick. I wanna know so badly, I don't know if you've seen this, there's a clip of the inauguration when they're filing into the Capitol and under the rotunda, and Joe Biden reaches out to Barron Trump to shake his hand, and Barron Trump leans in and whispers something in Joe Biden's ear. And Joe Biden, like, has a weird look on his face, like, "What?" I think he said something psychotic to him. I don't know that we'll ever know, but
no, because Joe
go
Biden will
watch
never
the
tell
clip.
me.
It's crazy. Anyways, yeah.
Well, on that note, I gotta
Mhm.
run because I gotta go pick up my son who's a bit
Yep.
traumatized.
And well, poor I know, poor kid. I really been thinking about him
Yeah,
and
he'll be
I
okay.
yeah, yeah, kids are resilient, but also, they also retain things like a sponge, so,
Yeah,
hopefully
he'll be okay.
there'll be a balance there. But, tomorrow, just for anybody watching, tomorrow we have our show at noon Eastern. It's Julie, me, Jojo from Jers, and my friend and co founder of Seneca Project, Tara Setmayer. We have our show. It'll be on YouTube. You can check it out on literally all of our YouTube channels. We broadcast it everywhere. And we're having a guest.
We're having Shan do you guys know Shannon Watts?
Yeah.
I mean, who's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Shannon Watts,
Badass.
badass, started a movement, um, is responsible for so many gun safety
Yeah.
laws
What
all
time?
across.
It's at noon Eastern. It's 12 Eastern
Yeah,
tomorrow.
12 Eastern. We're super excited. She's fantastic. She has a new book coming out. We'll talk to her about that,
Yeah.
as well as a bunch of other things. So you
Yeah.
guys,
Including but not limited to, and I just want to say really quick before we came on this, Brad Lander, who
yes,
is the New York City comptroller, who is, by the way, a lovely person who I've had conversations with during the last election. Smart guy, lovely, sweet. Went to immigration court in New York City to ask for just to see the warrant or whatever it was, and ICE detained him. And he's also a mayoral candidate. He's running for mayor. Um, this is yet again the federal government and these masked ICE thugs arresting and detaining Democrats. This is keeps happening. And for anybody who's still asleep, I'm sure no one that's watching this is, but others, maybe people you know in your life who are still asleep, if anybody thinks that they're not going to be next, are in for a rude awakening. So, this is all really scary. And this is even more reason why we cannot stop talking. We cannot be silent. We have to continue, making our voices heard and marching in the streets and calling the people who represent us.
there was a part of me yesterday when I was coming through the border here in the United States, um, where I thought to myself, "Oh, maybe I better delete some stuff on my phone."
Hmm. Listen,
And let me tell you something. That is
it's insane.
bonkers crazy.
Yeah.
It's bonkers crazy that this even had to occur to me.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband's traveling abroad this summer, and I'm not going with him because I'm nervous about coming back in.
And my husband, who is very optimistic about stuff, is like, "Well, after everything we just went through, they're not gonna stop you."
Guess guess
I
they
was like,
will.
"What? Have you not been paying attention to everything that's been going on?"
Yeah. They look right. They detained a United States senator a few days ago.
They arrested a United States congresswoman and charged her and indicted her
Yep. Hmm.
for doing nothing more than her responsibility
Yeah.
of having oversight over an ICE facility, which the law explicitly allows her to do.
Right. Yeah. Well,
They literally
Julie,
threw a United States senator, as Michelle said, to the ground.
yeah, threw him to the ground. And the same agents that threw him to the ground are the ones that escorted him into the room.
Mhm.
And the whole thing was a setup.
Of
and
course.
Corey Lewandowski sitting there, orchestrating the whole thing while his girlfriend is sitting there at the podium spewing her nonsense. Um, it's I will say, Julie, I have missed our lives while you've been gone because I don't have anyone to do lives with. So
Oh,
very
well, I'm
glad.
back. We're gonna do a
Yeah.
lot more of these, and
Yeah.
I'm back in the saddle. I'm gonna go get, as you could see, have not slept in a little bit. I'm gonna go get my son, listen to him complain about why I'm not getting him McDonald's for the 17th day that he's been asking me, and then I'm gonna go shut my door, get some sleep,
Yep.
and then tomorrow, I'm so excited for our show at noon tomorrow,
Yep.
with Shannon Watts. Everybody, please join if you can. To everybody who reached out to me over the
Mhm.
last few days, I am so deeply grateful to the Substack community. I cannot tell you. I'm so deeply grateful to Michelle and to Tara and to JoJo because if you guys don't know this, when I was in the shelter on Friday night and we're literally hearing booms overhead and we have the internet, but we don't have TV. Tara and Michelle and Joe were my eyes and were telling me what they were watching on CNN and literally telling me what was happening overhead above us outside because I couldn't see it. And it was just so remarkable um, that this incredible community of people and people I love and my friends, but everybody
Mhm.
could be in the United States telling me what was happening where I was because I couldn't see it.
Crazy. It's
It's just
crazy.
crazy. It's crazy. And we're all here for each other. I have come back just more committed, more energized, in some ways more humble than ever.
Mm. Mm.
Um, Committed, by the way, we could talk more about this because I got to go to this
Yeah.
war in Gaza ending because of
Mm.
kids in Gaza have to live through this
Uh,
every day.
I was thinking about that. Like, I can't imagine these children living in war zones around the world, especially
Listen,
Gaza. It's just
it's if this doesn't make you a peacenik, I don't know what does.
yeah. Yeah.
Because no children on either side of the border should be living this way,
Absolutely.
including my little cousins who are my son's aging younger,
Yeah.
who just go down there because they're so used to it, and
Mm.
and just this is their lives, and
It's
they're
unimaginable.
lucky because they live on one side of the border. The kids in Gaza have no shelters to go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And somebody here said Kyiv had a terrible night last night. Yes, they did.
Same.
So,
Same.
yes, they did.
As Ukrainian children, it's just,
Terrible, terrible,
as many
terrible.
problems as we have here, the children of the United States and the trauma that they have to endure with other types of violence here. That's a separate issue that we'll actually talk about tomorrow. Um, you know, the children here don't live in an actual war zone and have not had to be exposed to that. And for that, we should be grateful.
I went through that for 3 nights, and I said I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I had the luxury of being able to do that for my kid.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
People there don't have the luxury of doing that. People in Kyiv don't have the luxury of doing that. People in Tehran right now don't have the luxury of doing that. People in Israel
No.
don't have the luxury of doing that.
Yeah.
Um, it really, it really puts things in perspective.
Yeah. It brings you to earth. That's for sure.
Yeah, when you have to experience it yourself and
Right.
understand
Right.
what
And
that
that's where that
entails.
goalpost of safety just moves. Like, what does that even
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Depends on where you
Um,
are.
it's yeah. So, on that note, everybody, thank you. We will see you tomorrow at noon. Michelle, I love you. Thank you so much for being so wonderful and
We
supportive and
love you,
just
Julie.
the best. Like, you guys were just the best while we were away. I cannot tell you. Get yourself some friends like I have,
Mm.
everybody. Okay. Bye, everybody. See you soon. Bye.